Okay, the meeting will now come to order. We'll begin introduction of members and seating of alternates, and we'll begin with town staff. So I'll call your name and say here if you're here, and if you're not, then don't say anything. So Dawn, I believe, is not here, correct?
Yeah, just on that note, just keep Dawn in your thoughts. She's going through a little medical, not a little medical. She's going through a medical thing right now, so that's why she's not here. So she'll be out for the next month or so.
Okay, we'll talk about that offline. What we should do for her. Okay, is Henry with us? Okay, no, Dan. Dan, you're here, right? See, I don't think Dan can hear me.
There's some kind of audio problem with him.
Yeah.
With me?
Yeah.
Yeah. Can you hear me, Dan? I'm saying, are you
Yeah,
here?
I can. Let me turn it up. Let me turn up my volume.
Okay.
Okay. Did you
Okay.
say town staff? Is that what I'm missing?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
Dan Beret, town planner. Sorry.
okay, and Henry is not with us, correct?
Sorry.
Henry is with us or no?
Doesn't look like it.
Okay, no Henry. Okay, then we'll begin introductions for commission members. So I'll call your name. Tom? Tom Bransfield?
Oh, here.
Okay, thank you. Victoria, I don't believe is here. Chantel?
Here.
Jen? No. Rob?
Here.
Carolyn?
Here.
Hi, Carolyn.
Hi.
Joe? No, Joe. And this is Bob Ellsworth, so I'm here. Tom, would you be seated for Jen, please?
Sure.
Okay, thank you. And then for guests, I know we have Jeremy.
I think I miscounted because Victoria's not here, so we'd see Carolyn for Victoria and
Oh,
Tom for Jen. Is that what we're doing?
okay. Sorry. Yes, thank you. So, Tom, you're seated for Jen. Carolyn, would you be seated for Victoria, please?
Sure.
Okay, thank you. So for guests, we have Jeremy is with us.
Did we
Yes,
lose Chantel? Because I
Yeah,
don't.
it looked like she was having some audio issues.
Well, Jen is back in. Let me admit Jen. Jen's joining, so we can have Jen sit. It doesn't really matter, but we lost Chantel.
Okay, we'll see if she joins again in a minute.
She's joining right now.
Okay.
She's in.
Okay, so we're not, I don't think we'll be voting on anything tonight, Dan. So should we leave the seating the way that it is now?
I think so. Yeah, it's not a big deal either way.
Okay, so Jeremy, are you with us?
Yes, Jeremy DeCarli, Tyche Planning and Policy Group. Good evening, everyone.
Janelle?
And hello, everyone. Janelle, I'm an associate planner with Tyche.
Hi, Janelle. Welcome.
Hello.
And anyone else from Tyche?
John
John?
Guskowski. Yep, he will be joining us, but he's with Essex, so he'll be jumping on shortly.
Okay. Did I miss anybody at all on the meeting? Okay, then we'll move on. May I have a motion to accept the agenda as presented?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Hi.
Say no. Okay, the agenda is accepted as presented. So we'll move on. So this is a special meeting for the kickoff for the Plan of Conservation and Development. And would someone like to start the kickoff?
Yeah, so I'll start it off. And Jeremy is going to share his screen and I'll speak along to the slides.
As soon as Dan gives me permission to share my screen, I will share it.
Oh.
You should be all set.
Okay. There we go. Is everybody, it should be up. Are you seeing a slideshow in front of you?
Blocking right now, but okay. There.
Okay.
Is it there?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, very good. Take it away, Janelle.
Okay, thanks. So hello, as we mentioned, this is a kickoff meeting for the Plan of Conservation and Development. So this is just the very initial rundown of what a POCD is, just to set the tone of the topics that we're going to be discussing, and so on and so forth. So if you have questions at any moment, feel free to stop me, and then also Jeremy, if I miss anything, feel free to chime in. But yeah, this is just a very introductory conversation about what a POCD is. So the town has taken on Tyche to facilitate the drafting of the plan. And essentially, Jeremy and I will be the main people. Well, I guess I'll just go to the next slide. So, next slide, please. So, this is photos of everyone at the Tyche Planning and Policy Group. Obviously, you know, John and Jeremy and I specifically are on the long-term planning team. So we'll be the main people doing the meat of the drafting of the chapters and such, and facilitating any public outreach and so on and so forth. Jeremy and I will be the main point people, and then I think John as well, just because he's a little bit more familiar. So next slide. So before I start diving into exactly what is in a POCD, I'm just going to mention that the Connecticut state statute requires every municipality to adopt and update a plan of conservation and development every 10 years. And that's the reason why. We'll go into it later, but essentially that's why we're here today. So now I'm going to go through what a POCD must consider. So every plan should essentially be a statement of policies, goals, and standards that guides the physical and economic development of the town. So included in this is providing for a system of thoroughfares. So that's parkways, bridges, streets, sidewalks, trails of any sort, and just connectivity within and around town, ensuring that you know, people are able to have a variety of modes of transportation to get to the different community services and such. So the next thing is it should be designed to promote the coordinated development of the municipality and the general welfare and prosperity of residents. So this is done essentially by identifying areas where you think that it's feasible to have compact, transit accessible, and pedestrian-oriented mixed-use development patterns. So in other words, transit-oriented development, and really encouraging mixed-use buildings, whether that's, you know, residential and commercial or whatever fits into the context of your community, but really promoting infill development and, you know, other planning theories like that. And then next, the plan should recommend the most desirable land uses. So where you want residential, if there's a specific residential neighborhood that you really want to preserve, you know, you also, or the plan should also identify areas that you think is fit for additional commercial development, industrial development, and then along with the development, the other areas of town that you want to conserve, any, you know, public spaces, farmlands, and such like that, conservation areas that have, you know, particularly sensitive wildlife and such, should also be called out in the plan. And so, you know, there are a number of maps that is included in every plan. And so on the land use or zoning map is where you would call out those different uses and where you see that they would best fit in town. And then, so are we still on this slide? So next, the plan should recommend the most desirable density of the population. So if there's any areas that you think can, you know, facilitate increased density, just because of larger state requirements about providing for, you know, affordable housing and such. Any areas that I think it's better if you as a town, say this is where we'd want any development if it would have to go in than for later on, as the affordable housing and other mandates by the state get more strict. It's easier to point those out now, and make a plan and just be proactive rather than reactive when it's too late. So next, the state has identified, I think it's 6 growth management principles, and then if any of the plans that the town has are not in alignment with these, then those inconsistencies would need to be outlined in the plan. So the growth management principles are redevelopment and revitalization of commercial centers and mixed use developments that either have existing or planned physical infrastructure. Next is the expansion of housing opportunities and supporting design choices that provide for a wider variety of housing types. So if that's not something you're planning to do, then you would need to, call that out and outline why. Because many communities in Connecticut are experiencing, changes in demographics. So expanding housing opportunities is something that's like really important across every municipality. Next is the concentration of development around transportation nodes and along major transportation corridors. So, as I said before, really promoting transit-oriented development and other modes of transportation than just cars, trains, walking, biking, and so on and so forth. Next is the conservation and restoration of the natural environment. And that also includes the town's cultural and historical resources and farmlands. And then along with that is the protection of environmental assets that are critical to public health and safety. So, water or sewer and all of those types of wastewater infrastructure and facilities located within the town. And just the upkeep and improvement of them, is outlined in the plan. If not, you would have to call out why. And then lastly, the integration of planning across all levels of government, including local, regional, and statewide. So in the introduction of the plan, we have a section where we specifically call out consistencies with the town plan and the regional plan as well as the state plan. So if the town plan is not in alignment with that, this is where we would call it out. But usually, the region has a plan and the state has a plan, and they're all in alignment with the local plan. So next slide, please. So continuing on, the plan must provide for the development of housing opportunities, including opportunities for multifamily dwellings. And this is, of course, only if soil types, terrain, and existing infrastructure allow for that. So I know that multifamily can mean a lot of things. So specifically what that means in the context of your community, whether that's, duplexes, or, accessory apartments, or just different variations of increasing density, really should be explored, as we're in the midst of an affordable housing crisis. The plan should also promote housing choice and economic diversity, which, also includes low and moderate income households. And so the state has a lot of information on ALICE, that's asset limited, double income, and different groups and such, those who are struggling to pay for housing. The plan really should, call out those groups, the percentage of them that's in town, and then the plan to make a wider variety available to people. And then lastly, another important aspect of the plan is making sure that the elderly and those who have disabilities are considered. So calling out any areas in town that you think could benefit from increased ADA accessibility, and ensuring that residents are able to age and remain in town, and navigate despite whatever challenges might come up in terms of physical disabilities. We really want to make sure that as we're planning for the future, we're adapting, facilities that may have aged, and ensuring that people can continue to make use of the town's resources and such. And I think that my group of slides. So yeah, Jeremy is going
I
to
am.
take it over.
Okay. So just can I get a sense for how many of you folks were around the last time your plan was updated back in 2016? Were any of you on the commission then?
Yeah, I was. This is
Yeah.
Bob. I think
Bob,
Shan-
okay.
Yeah. And I think I was too.
Carolyn
Okay.
was.
Okay, so a few of you are around then, and a few of you are new and have not been through the process before. Okay, all right. I just wanted to get a sense for that. So in addition to those items that Janelle just covered that you sort of have to consider per the state statute, and a lot of those last couple of slides are very wordy because most of that was just lifted right from the statute itself. The POCD can consider a whole host of other things, and really it's essentially anything that you want to cover that's related to community development. So conservation and preservation of trap rock and other ridgelines, airports, parks, playgrounds, other public grounds, general location, relocation, and improvement of schools and other public buildings, general location and extent of public utilities and terminals, so water lines, sewer lines, things like that. And I know that that's been a conversation with Portland for a number of years. Extent and location of public housing projects, programs for the implementation of the plan. So we'll get into, and I know that your current plan has an implementation, a whole section on that that's sort of separate from your strategic element. You have your implementation matrix. So we'll carry that forward. Priority funding areas, those are areas that you want to actually put town funds into, and any other recommendations as well. You can be as broad ranging with this as you want to be, in addition to those things the statute requires you to consider. How's a POCD used? It's a 10-year plan, as we've talked about. It has to be updated every 10 years. But what's the point of it? Well, the point of it is to implement the goals and the policies that are within. So grant submissions, if you're going to go for any kind of grant money coming from the state, you have to have an effective plan of conservation and development. If you are doing any types of zone changes, or if you receive any applications for zone changes, you need to be reviewing for consistency with your plan of conservation and development. You don't want to get a commercial zone change out in the middle of nowhere up on Penfield Hill, and that's not going to be consistent with your plan. And then area specific studies, and we included a picture of Brainerd Place there because that would be a good example of that. Or if you're doing any types of studies down by the waterfront with the brownfield, the Brownstone Park area and all of that. So any of those types of things. The other big one that it's used for by commissions is what we call 824 referrals or 824 reviews. That's just a reference to the statute number. And those are referrals that the Board of Selectmen will make to the Planning and Zoning Commission anytime that they're proposing to spend municipal dollars on improvements. So things like new roads or enlarging roads, bridge replacements or new bridges, water lines, sewer lines, could be a sidewalk project, schools, if you're going to do any kind of large addition to any schools or any public buildings. So anytime that you're spending municipal dollars on a project, the project has to be reviewed by the Planning and Zoning Commission to ensure that it's consistent with your plan of conservation and development. And you've probably gotten those 824 reviews. I'm sure you've done a number of those.
Yeah, we have.
So overview of your project. We're going to start. We're obviously doing the kickoff meeting tonight to introduce ourselves and meet all of you. We will begin this process with a baseline review of existing data and plans. So we're going to go through your 2016 POCD. We will be sending you all some question sheets to let us know what goals and action items from that plan you've accomplished. We'll look at other plans that are in the other planning documents that have been created over the years. I know that there's a brownfield area redevelopment grant that was recently received, and I know you're working on that. And we'll look at any others. Dan will kind of point us in the right direction. And John, I think, has been working in your town hall now for a couple of years and has a pretty good sense of what's out there. We'll go through and update data, and we'll do an assessment on any changes to that data. So we're going to look at your demographics. We're going to look at what's changed over the last 10 years. We will be putting together a community survey. We'll do staff and advisory committee meetings. And when we get into the schedule in a couple of slides here, what we'll be doing is putting together worksheets that we will send out to the Parks and Rec Board, Board of Finance, Board of Education, all the boards and commissions that are pertinent. And we'll work with Dan to figure out who those folks are. We'll send those worksheets out. We'll get some responses from them on their priorities over the next 10 years, and then have conversations with them at your meetings over the next few months so that we can incorporate some of that information into the plan. We'll do some stakeholder outreach. We'll certainly do public presentations as we go along. We'll work, and that's all sort of leading up to the visions and goals statement, because what we want to do is sort of get a baseline understanding of, sort of what the direction of the town should look like over the next 10 years. And then we'll wrap that into the vision and goal statement. And then once we have the vision and goals set up, then we'll start to really draft those chapters. And then at the very end, we'll do a public hearing to adopt. And I think right now we're looking at sometime next summer for that. A couple of different approaches, and we want to get your opinion on this. Every town's a little bit different. Every commission is a little bit different in terms of how much public outreach they want to do, and we're certainly up to the task of meeting your requirements. Certainly, public meetings and subject matter discussions, as I just mentioned. Community survey, and I think we had talked about there's a survey out there for the bar grant that maybe we'll sort of add some questions to kind of kick things off. Stakeholder meetings, and then Social Pinpoint, which is a website that we've been using in some of the other communities that we're preparing POCDs for right now. It's kind of a nice website. It's interactive. We can put maps up there. And users can, and ask pointed questions. Where do you think we need sidewalks, or what transportation, infrastructure is problematic? Where is there too much traffic? And users can place a pin on a map and write a note. So we can change questions out. And that's also a place where we can put draft chapters out on the internet so that folks can read those and we can get public feedback that way. So it's a really good, comprehensive site. And then project schedule, we're here tonight doing the kickoff meeting. Next month, we will start to discuss and present you with some of the data that we begin to compile. So we'll start to put together an introduction and a background section for you all to take a look at. And then we'll get into the meat of it after that. We'll do a public input session probably in December. And some of these dates, some of the topics that we have here are a little bit fluid, especially as we get further out. We may have to adjust this a little bit. But we're looking at visioning in January, coming up with that vision statement, and then getting into the meat of drafting those chapters and having those conversations with stakeholder groups in February through May and June. So natural resource protection, and these topics are taken from your existing plan. We can adjust them as we move along. But natural resource protection, economic and residential development, infrastructure, town center, riverfront industrial areas, photos and maps will come towards the end as we start to really put the plan together. And then we'll discuss any comments received at the end, and then hopefully adopt early August. We're a little bit behind the 10-year schedule. We know that. That's not a problem. The town can send a letter off to OPM and let them know that we're working on it so that the current plan stays effective until this one gets adopted. Any questions on any of that while we're here?
No, sounds good.
Okay. And then we wanted to just have a little bit of a discussion with you all. We need to get a sense just from you what you think the most significant issue is that needs to be addressed over the next 10 years in this plan.
My thoughts. I think when you're saying issue, you mean topic or category in here. So the riverfront development, you mentioned brownfield area. There's that. There's the integrity of our water supply, I think.
Mm.
Seems like pretty consistently having water main breaks and having interruptions. I know there's been some movement in that area. And I think on the topic of water, extending water supply out Route 66, I think something that's been talked about,
Yeah.
probably should be discussed and reviewed and at least talked about. Those are my top.
Now, if I
Bob, can I
remember
get-
correctly, the town owns the water infrastructure, right? But buys its water from MDC. Is that correct?
That's changing.
Yeah.
That's changing. Okay.
I believe that's the current scenario, but the town has drilled some exploratory wells here in town, and they're having very successful results with water, from what I'm hearing. And I believe the go live date is within a year from now. So that would mean that, if I understand it right, I'm no expert, trust me, but we would not rely on MDC any longer.
Okay.
And if anybody knows anything more than that, please correct me if I'm wrong.
Bob, can I get you to clarify? So first of all, hi everyone, it's John Guskowski. I'm sorry I'm a little late. But Bob, can I just ask you to clarify, are you when you talk about potential expansion of the water line down 66, are
Yeah.
you excited about that? Are you concerned about that? Are you hopeful? Like, what is it? Is it
Well-
fraught? What are we thinking?
My understanding is that there are a number of businesses who are interested in seeing that done.
Okay.
So that has kind of piqued my interest in what it would take to move forward towards that.
So that there would be some development, because I think that's a big issue for some developers or people that look along Route 66. It's the water. Seems to be an issue.
So
Yeah.
developers look for that resource.
Well, I mean,
as
or
a decision
builders
point?
or
Yeah.
business
Sure.
owners,
Okay.
just.
Yeah.
I
It kind of
guess-
comes along with the idea that it's a chicken or the egg type of situation of, are developers willing to build out in that area where there's no water and sewer with the hope that it might eventually come and be available? Or do we have to build that out first and then,
If you build it,
you
they'll
know,
come.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I guess it's a mixed idea, and we've talked about it a couple times due to a couple of other applications where we recently had a housing application where they mentioned that, sewer and well water was, possible for a larger scale development. But on the other side, like if we kind of expand at least the zoning to allow more housing in some of these areas along the 66 corridor, it would give us an excuse or a justification to think about expanding out the water and sewer and gas lines on that area to increase the service area for those potential developments down the road.
Thank you.
Yeah, Rob mentioned it, but I think when we talk water, we should also talk, sewer expansion too.
Yes, I agree.
I
Yeah.
believe most of those would go hand in hand. If we're digging it up too, I believe it would also include the gas line expansion as well, if it's not already there. Because I think 66 has gas lines.
I think there's areas in town that we need to look at expanding our sidewalks.
Absolutely.
Interconnecting. We have disjointed sidewalk system, and we ought to look at trying to put a whole system together that makes everything walkable.
I mean, the amount of times I've seen people walking and riding their bikes along the 17 Main Street area along the river, and can't help but think every single time I see someone there thinking that's just dangerous.
Mhm.
It'd be nice to see sidewalks along that way to actually let people, enjoy that view and walk it without risking their lives.
Does anybody happen to know if there's a inventory of sidewalks? Has it been mapped? Do you know if Public Works or anybody has any of that data?
They might. I know they've
Yeah.
done a substantial amount of work on the existing sidewalks of the last couple of years.
Right.
Yeah.
We've had a complete streets group that did a lot of sidewalk, kind of figuring out what to do. So I'm pretty sure that we have all that information.
Okay, great. We'll get a hold of that. That's great.
And we had an application a few weeks ago, down in the riverfront area near the marinas where sidewalks would have addressed a number of the issues the residents had
Concerns, yeah.
raised that at that meeting concerning the traffic.
And not to mention along a lot of the schools along High Street, there's a portion of it that to the north of them, there's no sidewalks there. So after I think William Street, there's no safe way to walk to school.
Yeah.
And so you see, someone who could reasonably walk to school from that area, but because of the way the roads are designed or structured, it's just not safe. And then kind of speaking of the schools, I think our schools are kind of aging, at least with a couple of the buildings. And I know we had it on a referendum and it was voted down, but we seriously need to think about that as a long-term issue of how to address those buildings.
Well, there was another committee, and I know they have a proposal that's presented to the Board of Selectmen. I don't know if it's been presented to them yet, but it's supposed to be.
All right. Well, it's still something we can,
So that's, yes.
because I can't imagine a project like that's gonna take off in the next year or two, given how long these things usually take when it comes to the planning, and then, long before, they start breaking ground at all.
Yeah.
And our schools would have to keep pace with any, housing, additional housing that's brought into town too. So.
Well, one of the things that I would like to look at is how the demographic shift is shifting, because I think we're still moving toward, speaking for myself, moving toward an older population, and how that affects what kinds of services are needed from schools to old people things. So I would like to take a look at that.
Yeah, and that's certainly data that we'll be going through. Portland certainly is no exception to that rule, right? All of our communities, especially the smaller communities, have been and continue to get older, and therefore need different housing options and transportation options and all of the other things that go along with it. So yeah, we will certainly be looking into that.
And on the subject of walkability and mobility, completion of the airline trail, we are so close to connecting the loop from East Hampton to, and Tom can probably speak to this better than I can, from East Hampton to Middletown. There's a few gaps in there in Portland that really need to be closed up to wrap up that project. So
I know that's been a big effort for both towns over the years. That's been a huge effort. And we probably, and I was, as you folks were talking about sidewalks, I was thinking we probably want to build some kind of interconnectivity into the airline trail too, so that we're not just focusing on the trail itself, but how do you get to the trail from all those neighborhoods that surround it? We should probably have some kind of discussion about that in the plan as well, I would think.
Yeah, like sidewalks.
Yeah. Well, sidewalks, bike lanes, maybe wider shoulders, whatever the case is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I think we sort of covered the first and the second question there. I mean, top three priorities, what I'm sort of hearing from you all, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, it's really riverfront infrastructure development out 66, so sewer, water, and potentially gas in places where it's maybe not there, although I think maybe 66 has gas. I can't quite remember. And then sort of walkability, accessibility, I guess I'll say walkability, bikeability, sort of alternative transportation options. Does that sort of feel like the top three priorities?
Yep, that's what I heard. I think, yeah.
Okay, great. So the next question there, and this is something that we ask so that we kind of understand the direction that the commission has been going, and so we can understand where you probably want to continue to go. But what do you feel has, and I think I know the answer to this question, but maybe not. What do you feel has been an example of successful development in Portland over, let's say, over the last 10 years?
I think the obvious one's Brainerd Place.
Yep, I would agree. Brainerd Place. To me, the sidewalk project seems like there's been an awful lot of activity in town. I know there's still a long way to go, but it seems like an awful lot of sidewalk work has been done. I don't know if
But I think that was to existing. I don't think it's expanded.
repairing existed. Okay,
Yeah, yeah, that's just repairing.
gotcha. Okay.
Did the town do a bond for that?
Well, it's been a lot of state money.
Okay.
We call it steep.
Okay.
Money, community connectivity, sure.
Okay. So grants mostly. Okay.
I would like to add that if you think about where we were 10 or 15 years ago, we've made a lot of progress on being able to develop the riverfront area. It's not developed at this point, but there was infrastructure's been added, sidewalks down Middlesex Avenue, Brownstone Avenue was connected, and we now have the Nordic Spa in progress and starting to build. So, I just hope we can build on that momentum with this and the other project.
Okay, so sort of prepping the riverfront area for redevelopment has been a successful development in itself over the past decade.
There's obviously more to do, but there's been a lot done, I think.
Yeah, I'd like to add that there's been an awful lot done at the Riverfront Park to make that a very appealing park in town. Over the last 10 years, I can't list all the things that have been done, but it's been a definite improvement.
Can I ask a rookie question? Am I muted? Am I unmuted?
We can hear you.
Yep, we
Okay,
can.
thanks. You're going to regret that, Jeremy. So is this where we address what our downtown looks like? Is this where we address that? Because it's all, we could probably update it.
Sure.
But it's not very welcoming. It doesn't look pretty when it comes over. It's just everybody's taking lefts and rights and blocking traffic. We could use some serious attention downtown. The signs are all mixed up. I mean, it just looks like a mushmash of just crap.
Yeah,
And nobody takes care of it. Like there's just
Main Street suffers from that sort of highway treatment that it got years ago. So I think in this plan, you want to take a sort of a macro look at that. And you might want to make a statement that a goal over the next 10 years is to improve the visibility and the design standards and sidewalks and parking and all of that, and sort of the visual characteristics of Main Street to make it more welcoming and make it more downtown and walkable. And then in doing so, you have we'll make some sort of goal statement or some kind of action item in there that you can then take and perhaps grab some grant funding and go out and do a specific area study of that to really dive in and come up with a design and what you really want to do. And then, perhaps, and I don't know if you have one now, but an architectural review committee might be an implementation item that comes out of this plan to establish an architectural review committee that reviews the design for any redevelopment on Main Street. So this is where you do the 40,000-foot look at that downtown area and then use the plan to get into that. And I'll use East Hampton, where I worked for just shy of 8 years as an example. We did that in our POCD over there. And then years later, I got a grant, hired an intern who did a study for downtown looking at sidewalk connectivity and all of that. And then that turned into an engineered plan, and now they're under construction, redoing their sidewalks and fixing some of those things. And so that's how we can look at it in this plan. But certainly, it's worth bringing up. Yep.
And we'll have to make sure we work hand in hand with the Brownfield Area Redevelopment Committee as well, because the downtown area, Main Street, and the surrounding areas are part of that study as well.
And could I ask a question though? Are a lot of those buildings, I thought they were grandfathered? Like, because we do have
Yeah, the town
requirements, but guidelines for how, what can occur downtown.
Yeah, the
Um,
town center village district overlay.
yeah, yeah. So I'm wondering if, do those guidelines or have to be looked at and reviewed because are some of the buildings that were there because they're older, they are kind of grandfathered and that's why they stay like they are.
So,
You know what I
so
mean?
you might have an action item that comes out of it that's, something along the lines of review existing design criteria or review your existing regulations to ensure that it fosters the type of look and feel down there that you want. So we'll have to look at it a little bit because I don't know quite, I don't know all the ins and outs of what regs and what design
Yeah.
standards you have, but we can.
Okay, and then I have I'm not sure, I don't know if this is the right place, but we have nothing in town for if you are having, let's say, a wedding at St. Clement's or something. We have no place for people to stay. I mean, we have a Nordic spa. There's not going to be overnight stays there. And I know a lot of people have asked me personally about that. Are we ever going to do something or consider, I don't want a hotel, motel, B&B or whatever. So I don't know if that belongs in like the housing or whatever.
This is fair game. That's great input.
Yep. Yeah, it's economic development. And so what you want to
Yeah.
do is we want to take a look and make sure your regulations allow for it. And if they don't, then what you want to do again is make a comment in your plan that that's the type of development you'd like to put somewhere and kind of figure out where that is. Maybe it's along 66, and then what are the action steps that need to be taken to sort of allow it. So maybe it's the sewer and water, maybe it's a change in your zoning reg, it's something along those lines. But yeah, absolutely. That's a shortage of hotel rooms is a big problem in that whole part of the state, right? You've got the Middletown Inn, and that's about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or the old Riverdale, whatever that's called now. But
Yeah. And again, that is something that the
The
Brown
Solano.
Salon, that's right. Yes, it sounds fancy now. I forgot about that.
Sounds
So
fancy because it is fancy. Come
the
on.
Brown Area Redevelopment Committee will be including that as part of their study, I'm sure.
Okay.
So that's a big area that bar grant is covering, huh?
Well, it's the 4 properties down along the riverfront, and yes, it's about 12 acres total.
Okay.
But then it also includes the downtown area.
It's the village district and the riverfront overlay district. And then an additional area down to the new canoe kayak launch on Airline Avenue to be looked at.
Right.
Okay.
But we can definitely look, as Bob said, we want to coordinate strongly with them because they're bringing a lot of diverse group of experts to the table, traffic people, design people, economic development people. And yeah, we want to make sure that we're leveraging their expertise and to make good recommendations for this plan.
Okay. And then the last question on the slide for you all is, how do you want to gather public input? How much of it, and how do you want to go about it? And I'll go back a slide or two, which has these couple of options on there. But we just want to get a sense for what you want to do and what you see going forward for public input.
The only thing I would consider adding to that was something we talked about with the bar group is whether we could do like a podcast or something locally that kind of explained what we're doing. That seems like that's helped a lot of people with some of the other topics in town.
I think the big challenge is getting the word out to people and making sure people understand what a POCD really is. I mean, outside of this our little zoning world here, I'm not sure how many people really understand what it is and how important it is to have the right stuff in there for the future of the town. And the fact that their input, the public input, is welcome and important.
Right. So I am just completely unfamiliar with what types of community outreach platforms there are. But podcasts, I don't even listen to podcasts. So I would just echo that we should be trying to reach people on all sorts of different,
Yes.
platforms.
Right. Because you have people that don't know how to use a computer or Etna or or get onto the internet. Then you have people who don't really necessarily want to listen to something because they're more visual. So I think we have to look at all of that.
Right. And
Right.
on the other hand, you've got people who might have great ideas, but they don't want to speak in front of the public at a meeting.
Right.
So you've got all sorts of.
Yeah.
I was just going to add that in addition to like SurveyMonkey and the online social pinpoint and other online resources that we have with other towns, we've made paper copies available, whether that's, at the town library or at the town hall, or sent out mailers in the mail that explain, what a POCD is and then has dates of any upcoming public input sessions and any community events, if there's any like farmers markets or any specific I don't know if there's like a town Facebook page or like we're very willing to work with you if there's something you don't see on this list, but that there's a specific place that a lot of community members visit, or if you think mailers would be useful. We can continue to get creative. And yeah, the podcast idea is very interesting. I've never heard that before. So
it's also something I think that we could. I like the idea, or maybe some like little downloadable audio explainers, short form 3 to 5 minute kind of thing that we could host on like a social pinpoint site that also encourage some of that interactivity. I kind of like the idea.
Well, we could also add them as links to the town meeting videos so that people can, if they watch these videos, then they can go and follow the links following, the YouTube links.
How's readership of local newspapers, River East and Middletown Press and those types of things? I mean, do you get the sense people are reading those, or are they going straight to the trash?
Are you asking like now
Yeah.
compared to 20 years ago, or
I'm asking now. I think there's a segment of the population that probably still reads the River East cover to cover, and so it's probably worth doing a press release in there and trying to get in touch with whoever the local reporter is these days, so that we kind of keep them up to date, keep it live in the newspaper as well. If you think readership is good enough to make it worth it.
Oh yeah, yes.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
Thank you.
People look at the legal notices. I was surprised and how many people still look at the legal notices.
Yeah.
So I thought I was just putting them out there for no one, to be honest. But yeah, people do look at them.
I definitely think it's a generational thing, but
Well, have they changed or updated the laws on that?
many of us older folks still read the River East and may get the Middletown Press. I think when I look at the screen, Dan and Rob, I'm not sure they're reading the newspaper.
They still print Middletown Press on paper.
Maybe my use of the Middletown Press is a little dated, but the River East I know still goes out in paper every week. So
Middletown Press is rough now, but the River East, I think it goes to everybody's house. People look at it.
yeah. Okay, so we'll use them for sure. We can do a press release and try to keep them posted. Okay. Okay, so what I'm hearing is you want to be broad ranging. We want to make sure that we're getting as much public input as we can on this plan.
Right. But also looking to you or other, people who have had success with reaching out to different people. There are things out there that we don't, I don't know that they even exist. So I would request that we use, new stuff.
Okay.
And for those people that do use social media, our first selectman is very active on updating the town websites. And then there's also a Portland Historical Society page that seems to broadcast and rebroadcast a lot of the activities going on in town.
Mm-hmm.
So if we can get our first selectman on board with spreading the word about the POCD, I think it'll help for those people who do use social media.
That's a great idea.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, great.
Presuming, of course, he wins the election, right?
Instead of putting it on the Portland page where everybody complains.
I don't know. I think that might be a good idea to put it on the Portland page. Then we get a whole bunch of complaints and we can kind of work those into positive goals.
Well, you know what?
Yes, put it on the Portland page or the community. Yes.
I said it kind of tongue in cheek, but it may not be a bad idea.
No, it's not a bad idea.
But I do think that having Mike put it on his thing is good.
Yeah, getting Mike to put it out there. Yeah, I agree. But we're not soliciting input from the Portland page. They will have to come to the events.
I'll tell you, muted.
I said just to get the word out. I'm not suggesting that they're gonna. Nobody has time to listen to all that, but right. All right, I'll mute myself again.
All right, I think we've got our marching orders to some extent with this stuff, and we'll work with you all as we move forward. We'll certainly work with Dan on what's available through the town itself, and we'll start working on a social pinpoint page as we move along, and we'll come to you with some other things. I do, like John mentioned, I like the idea of sort of these maybe 3 to 5 minute explainers that we can put somewhere either on social pinpoint or on the town website. So we'll start working on that. Somebody much more audibly proficient than I am is going to have to record those. Maybe that's a John thing. I'm not quite sure, but we'll figure that out.
Janelle and I are already strategizing our microphone purchases, so we're excited about this.
Okay. I think we're at the end of what we wanted to bring to you, but certainly any questions you have for us, we don't mean to keep you here all night long, but we want to answer any questions and then we'll move forward.
My question is, will we get a copy of these slides? Or
we can yeah, Dan's got them, and if he wants, they haven't changed since I sent them to Dan. And Dan, if you want to forward these along with the members, that'd be great.
I'll do it right now.
Okay.
Dan, you can just upload it to the drive.
Yeah, that's
easier.
true.
You want me to do it on the Google Drive? Okay.
Yeah.
You can do that.
I'll make a POCD folder and we'll stick anything in there that you guys need.
Yeah, that makes sense. I was going to say you could just make a folder for today's meeting with today's date. But if you're gonna make one for strictly for the POCD, that would make sense too. Because we can
I'll make one
access
for
like
the POCD, but then I'll segregate it into different things for you guys if that's what you want.
That sounds
That'd be
like,
great.
yep. Mhm. Any other questions for Jeremy or Janelle or John? I think we've gotten some pretty good input tonight for the start. I'm encouraged.
Me too. I think this is going to be a good process. I'm looking forward to working with you all.
Same.
I don't know. It
I'm
could
just-
be, it could be,
Yeah.
it could be good. It could be not.
I'm
You're
just
right. I
glad
mean, we're
Bob's
only
not-
right at the beginning, really. Who knows?
The jury is
There's,
still
there's
out.
there's plenty of time to discourage Bob.
Sorry.
Okay. Anything else on this topic on the kickoff? Anything else you wanted to say? Anybody? Open forum right now for POCD kickoff.
Thank you.
Hearing none, I guess we're done for this topic. So may I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Moved.
seconded.
All in favor, say aye.
I
No? Okay, the meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
all right. Have a good
Thank you,
night.
everybody. Thank you, Psyche. Have a good night, everybody.
Take care.